Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking about actions and signals. And I almost forgot, it is your boy, Street Coder Nate. So, let's get into actions and signals. What are actions and signals? Well, in our last video, we talked about asynchronous programming. And so, actions and signals tie up to asynchronous programming. And the reason to tie up to asynchronous programming because it goes back to this idea of let me get here. It goes back to the idea of sync, async, async. Basically, your program reading line by line by line by line by line the commands. And so some of the commands may not need to fire right away. And so they may need to fire based upon a condition, based upon a signal that's being set, that's being given. That's what's happening. And so we uh, we write the code, we write the commands right next to. Well, let's say we create a command that says when this signal go off, or let's create a procedure that says when signal X go off, handle signal X with these set of actions. So that's what we're pretty much doing here. We're saying signal X is going to go off, and when signal X go off, I'm going to handle it with a specific set of actions. And so, well, where are these signals coming from in terms of JavaScript, at least? Because
I didn't get that.
in terms of user interfaces, signals can come from everywhere, honestly. And so, but we're talking about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript front end web development. And so, signals are going to come from the actual elements, right? These signals, each element has a signal on it. It has various signals, and these signals can be like, if the mouse hovers over the element, then set the signal on hover. And if it's not hovering, then remove that signal from firing. And if the button is being clicked, or if the element is being clicked on, then there we go. If the button is being, or if the element is being clicked on, then remove that element from the or do something pertaining to that element, or if the element is being clicked on, signal or set the signal for the clicked on, set the flag for the clicked on signal and whatnot. And so there's just a bunch of different signals that every element in HTML has. Each element in HTML has all the signals. And so what JavaScript allows us to do is to get a reference to the HTML element, right? So if we get a reference to the HTML element, then that means we have a reference to its signals as well. And so because before we saw that we had a reference to its not only did we get a reference to when we got a reference to the H1 element on the web page using document.querySelector, we were able to change the inner text by saying the H1 element dot inner text. We were able to change its property. And so by grabbing the reference to the element, we're able to get access to its properties. And that's really big. As you can see, I got the light coming in. Let me see if I can close that. The sun coming in strong. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So, dang, it's coming in strong. Let me bring this down to you. Excuse the technical difficulties, y'all. All right, better. Ugh. Hit my hand. All right. So, what was I saying? So you got the signals and then the actions, and each element has the signals and whatnot. And so when we get a reference to that element in the JavaScript, because JavaScript, we're getting reference to elements in HTML. So now our variables are storing references to that HTML object. Now, because we can change its inner text property, we can take a look at other properties as well. One of the other properties, remember I was telling you that all properties, all like data types in JavaScript are come back to being an object. So the property, and the reason I'm telling you about it being an object is because the 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 signal is a property, and the signal once again is is a data type, and therefore it is an object, and that object can be set to a value. And so we can say that when this click signal is set, run this set of commands, and we can define those set of commands, and then we can just assign the that set of commands to the signal once the signal has been fired. And so through JavaScript we're able to do that. HTML, CSS, we are not able to do that. This is asynchronous programming at one of its finest right here. That the browser is just going to naturally continue doing what it's doing, but as soon as, let's say, I set an on-click on handler on the H1, you will see that now that I click on the H1, the commands that I want to run will then run for that H1. And so I'm just gonna give a quick JavaScript introduction to event handling, and then in the next videos, we're going to really get into some examples of how to really handle events in JavaScript. But right now, I'm just going to use my iPad and show you that, let's say I wanted to, let's say there's a H1 element somewhere, right? Let me draw out the example like this. Let's see. I can't see it. Oh yeah, it's not connected. Let's see. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is create a variable in JavaScript that will be tied to a reference in an H1 in the HTML. And then since it's tied to that reference, what I'm going to do is set its on-click handler. And I'm going to show you the syntax for setting the on-click handler in this video. And then in subsequent videos, we're actually going to use that in the code. But this is the last little video, little tech or understanding video you need to get in your head before we can really get to the fun stuff with creating websites with JavaScript. So this is dope. So here we go. This is our HTML file, and in our HTML file we have an H1. Let me say what up though. Right, and so we got our H1, and then we got our JavaScript file over here that is going to say let's H1 L element equals document dot query selector, and then we pass in H1. And so what that does is ties me here to this H1. So now that I got H1L has this thing called dot add event listener. And so what add event listener says, well, let's break it down. So we're gonna add, we're adding something to H1. What are we adding? We're adding an event listener. So H1 has all these different events that can happen on it, basically meaning an event being a click event, a scroll event, a hover event. These are just, an event is a signal, basically. And so this is saying add a signal listener. Add a listener, you have a bunch of signals. I want to add a listener to one of your signals. And so it's a function. And so the parameters to this function I'm gonna put right here. I got this arrow right here. The parameters to the function, the first parameter is what is the event that we want to handle. And the event, let's say, is on click. And we pass that as a string. We remember strings is like this. This is just an anonymous string, a string literal, if you will. And so we pass the word on click, and then we separate it. And so the second thing we pass to this event handler is, okay, so we just told you that when what signal do we want to watch out for? We want to watch out for the click signal. Okay, so once this H1 right here is clicked on, what do you want me to do? Well, that's the second parameter. What do you want me to do is the list of commands that the user, that the browser, that the CPU is going to run once the H1 has been clicked on. And so this list of commands can be doing anything. It can create a pop-up, it can do an animation, it can change a color, it can do whatever. But we have to write that inside of the list of commands. And remember, how do we create a list of commands? Well, we create a list of commands with a function. We put a whole bunch of commands inside of a function, and now we have a function. Well, just as we pass an anonymous string, we can also pass an anonymous function. And so we'll pass something like this. And so this is the syntax for the anonymous function. Remember, this is the parameter list. And this is where our data go. And then this arrow says, take everything out the parameter list and put it in here and start processing the code that's inside of that, right? And so there's one big thing though that you got to remember is that the signal, so the on click right here, the signal is going to be passed in as input. So basically, you click on, I'm going to click on the H1, and the H1 is going to say, it's going to send the signal saying, it's going to fire off the signal saying I was clicked, and then basically it's going to say I was clicked. And what's going to happen is the program is going to say, oh, it was the H1 was clicked and I got something to handle that. And so it's going to pretty much stop what it's doing and then go handle it. And so the signal here is this whole object. It's this whole object that was clicked on. So we get this H1, and it's kind of like the object. It's the object plus more information pertaining to the object. So it will tell you the location that the object's at in the browser, like the XY coordinates. It'll tell you like the height. This object will tell you a lot. It will also just give you the value too. So if you do like value, it should give you that it's a H1 with the what up though in between, right? And so that's pretty much what we do here. So let me try to rewrite that out so it looks cleaner. So if we had the H1 element, it would say H1L dot add event listener, and we'll pass it in as a function. And so I'm gonna write a line parameter list. And so we got a on click, and probably not even on click. I think it's just click actually. And you just put in click, and then you put your comma, and I put my parameter list. So my next value go here, but what I'm gonna do is start it on the next line. I'm gonna indent it over so that you know it's a part that it goes right here. I'm gonna indent it right over here. And so now, you usually see this called event or E. I just call it signal because I think about computer science in a general fashion. It's a signal. Do you have signals and actions in other languages? And JavaScript specifically, signals and actions are events and event handling pretty much. So you got your event, and then you can do stuff to it. So let's say when it's clicked on, let's change the text content to I have been selected. And then let's also change its CSS H1L dot style, or wait, is it dot CSS or something like that? Dot style equal oh no, dot style dot, and then let's change the background color, background color, and we're gonna change that to yellow. So basically, when I clicked on the H1, or so I have my H1 element, and I added an event listener to it that says when it's clicked on, run this procedure right here. Run this procedure, that's my second parameter to the function. And this procedure says it's going to take in the element, and right here, as you can see, we didn't even use the element inside of here. All we really cared about was the H1. And so we said H1.text content. We set the text content, we updated the text content to say I've been selected, and then we really showed that it's been selected by changing the background color to yellow, like it said, as if it was highlighted or something. And so we have that basically what JavaScript really allows us to do is that we do some fun stuff up in here. But we have to configure to do the fun stuff like this, that we need to grab our H1 element from the HTML. Then we need to add listeners to the different events that can happen. We say which listener we want to add, which event we want to add this listener to, and then we say this is the action to perform once that event has been fired. Makes sense? It's not even that complicated, for real. And so if you got that down and then you really understood the other stuff, bruh, you got the basics of JavaScript down, bro. Like, that's the basics of JavaScript. And now what we about to be doing is, oh wait, you now understand elements are giving us yes, so you understand elements giving off signals and creating actions to handle those signals. That's JavaScript. That's the point, for real, of JavaScript in my eyes, is to just grab HTML elements and manipulate them in some perspective, and then in certain cases you manipulate due to an event that happens, and most times it's most events. This is the input to the program. And so in my next video I was going to talk about event handling using JavaScript, but then I was just like, you know what, I can just do the syntax in this video real quick and call it a day. So instead of event handling, and in the next video we're going to start our first JS website, or our first vanilla JS website. This is hella exciting. Like, we have gotten to a point where now we can communicate efficiently with our computer, with our website. We can tell the computer what to do exactly with our website. We can tell the computer to put some content on it and structure it specifically how HTML would structure it, then style it up with some colors and some fonts with CSS. Now we can tell our website to, when this H1 element is clicked on, to make a pop-up or make an animation slide in with the use of JavaScript. So we have come a long way. Thank you for paying attention, for real. And now we about to get into the actual fun, because I believe that learning is like, if you've seen how I've done over the last videos, I haven't gone really deep into the specifics of like languages and APIs, but instead I went deep into the concepts, because the thing is, the programming is conceptual. It's not memorizing the syntax. The syntax comes with it. I Google my way through syntax sometimes in different languages. Like, I'll code a whole project up in a language I don't know, just because I know the concepts, and I just gotta learn how to translate it into that specific language. And so that's what, when you're doing computer science, remember, think in concepts. Don't think in like, I need to get this language down, I need to get this syntax down. No, thinking context or concepts. And so and that's what we're going to do with these websites. So we're going to, over the next few videos, and actually a bunch of videos, we're just going to be making different websites, for real. Like, I'm about to package this up as my intro to vanilla JS course, and is here on YouTube, and now you'll have different playlists that will just be going through different things, different websites to make. People ask me how to make this, how to make that, how to make that. So this website, this program is now going to, or this YouTube channel is going to pretty much be just creating front end websites. I'm gonna introduce y'all to jQuery and React 2, as y'all gonna see that right now this JavaScript gonna get cumbersome, and we're gonna need some new school framework to make it more fun. So on some real, man, y'all made it. I'm excited, and one day I'm gonna be selling this for some cheese. Like, so I hope y'all take advantage of this, of it being free. Tap in with me, like I said. Always hit me up on the ground. I'm funny. I'm cool. I might get on TikTok soon. Oh shoot, I might even be rapping. Destiny don't rub it off on me. That's my cousin. She be rapping. Follow her at Desi the Don. Or on the I gotta play some of her music and shit fire for y'all. But yeah, follow me on the ground, Street Coder Nate, and then subscribe, like, comment, and I'm gonna see y'all in our first Vanilla JS video. Peace.